topics to cover tonight. And I want to thank all of our speakers ahead of time for their roles in helping us through this evening's program. And just a note that we do plan to go into breakout sessions at the end of the meeting, and then we'll want you to return to the main Zoom room so the breakout room leaders can share the top priorities that were discussed in their respective groups. And we'll have somebody explain that again before we go into the breakout groups and how to choose your group. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge all of our partners and thank them. It's not just one organization or one person, it's a community of people and organizations who are working together towards the same goal to save Belle Bowl Prairie. Along with Natural Land Institute staff and board members and other individuals working on this initiative, our partners are Mississippi Audubon Society, Friends of Illinois Nature Preserves, and Illinois Environmental Council. And there are so many other individuals who have contributed to the boots on the ground grassroots movement to spread the word about this effort through their own network and social media, and by contacting airport staff and commissioners, local, state, and federal elected officials, and so many other people, either through their own phone calls, emails, or letters, or through the IEC, Illinois Environmental Council Action Alert that was sent to the governor, legislators, airport commissioners, and other elected officials. So thank you to everyone who's been contributing to this initiative for since last September. It's been going on. And speaking of that, at this point, I'm going to go through a summary of what's been going on. You'll be able to see on the slides a timeline as we go through, as I talk through the summary. But Jill, you can go to the next slide. In 2018, so how did we get here where we are today, February 21st, 2022? In 2018, the Chicago Rockford International Airport and the Federal Aviation Administration, also called FAA, conducted an environmental assessment, or an EA as it's known, of the midfield air cargo development area that includes Belle Bowl Prairie. And after this was done in 2019, there was a finding of no significant impact issue, despite the proposed destruction of a high quality state recognized prairie and multiple threatened and endangered species. Natural Land Institute, which has managed the prairie for decades, was not notified of these actions. Construction work began in 2021, and in August, local residents noticed activity in the area of the prairie and notified NLI and the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Upon visiting the prairie at this time, a DNR biologist identified several of the federal endangered rusty patch bumblebees in the prairie. In September, NLI, Mississippi Audubon, Friends of Illinois Nature Preserves, and others began working together to find alternatives to avoid destruction of the prairie and begin a public awareness campaign with outreach to community leaders and elected officials and the general public through emails and social media. And then we began holding public meetings at the end of September. After pressure from the IDNR, the airport agreed to halt construction until November 1st. We held several public meetings throughout October, and public awareness of this issue and news stories in the media increased. On October 27th, Natural Land Institute held a news conference to announce it had filed a lawsuit for injunctive relief and a temporary restraining order. The next day, the airport announced that it would halt construction and reinitiate consultation process under the Endangered Species Act with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services to evaluate impacts to the rusty patch bumblebee, and that construction scheduled to start November 1st was suspended until this process was completed. A new deadline was set for construction on the road to begin on March 1st. Meanwhile, in November, efforts continued to get the airport staff to collaborate with experts on a redesign of the expansion, of which they refused and said they plan to continue construction as planned. NLI filed a 60-day notice of violations of the Endangered Species Act to federal agencies. And then throughout November, December, and January, Belle Bowl Prairie advocates showed up and spoke during public comment at GRAA board meetings to keep the pressure on and let them know that we still cared and we still wanted to save that prairie. In December, IDOT, or Illinois Department of Transportation officials, announced Rockford Airport was awarded $3.6 million in Rebuild Illinois Airport Capital Improvement Program funds to construct the airport midfield entrance road and utility corridor. A new action alert was created for individuals to sign, urging elected officials to use their influence to publicly advocate to use the Rebuild Illinois funds to redesign the road so it wouldn't destroy the Prairie. And there have been several legal filings and letters of communication between NLI and airport attorneys since December. And someone else, I believe Carrie Lee, our executive director, will be giving a more detailed review of this process in a few minutes. So I'm not going to get into details about the legal process at this point. On February 16th, the Parks Chamber for Loves Park and McChesney Park held an event where Mike Dunn, director of the airport, gave a speech on the state of the airport. And we organized 2 tables with 20 guests to attend and mingle with other guests as a way to communicate with the business community about why it's important to save the Prairie and that we believe the airport can expand in a way that protects it. We armed them with several talking points as well. Also on hand were several youth activists who attended with Save Belleville Prairie banners and disrupted Mike Dunn's speech. And they certainly caused a stir and captured the attention of the guests. It takes passion and courage for young people to stand up for their beliefs. We need people of all ages and with all types of ideas to create community awareness and move people to action. So I want to say thank you to them for their efforts. And at this time, I will turn it over to Amy Dahl, Director of Friends of Illinois Nature Preserves, who will go through a review and explain some of the maps and photos of the proposed road and expansion plan. So Amy.
Thanks, Kim. So you can see on this slide the road that we're all talking about. And so for those of you that haven't been part of the conversation, the yellow outline is Belleville Prairie, some of which has already been destroyed up on the north end. But the road that has been halted is the red line, and it's the proposed midfield entrance road. And then on the next slide, you can actually see an aerial image. And you can see kind of on that closer to the top part of the Prairie that's already been destroyed, but you can see the road coming at the Prairie from both sides. And so that's what, if you haven't seen these images before, that's the Prairie, or the road and the Prairie that we've all been talking about. The next slide also, they have released some plans that were updated in October of 2021, showing the proposed temporary stormwater retention. And what this shows us also is that this is a phased project, but the phases aren't entirely clear. It hasn't been clear to the public. It hasn't been clear in any of the consultation process what exactly the phases are that the airport intends. But these are temporary stormwater detention areas that they have planned, some of which they've already been working on. And you can see also in the next slide, another image that shows some of the work that's already been done on a different angle, but you can see in the bottom left also the work that's been done already on these proposed detention areas. So that's some of the work that's already been done and that's proposed to be done on the Prairie. And the next slide simply shows what would be remaining with the plans. If they go through with the plans, what would be remaining of the Prairie, seeing that the road would be built and the detention and all of those things. Again, this is what we've seen from plans from October 2021, and taking a look at what they plan to destroy. But again, the phased plans that they have released are it's unclear what their plans are and what each phase is, and the picture that is presented is kind of foggy. This next slide shows a map that was included in their master plan that was included in the 2019 environmental assessment. And Jill, I think if you click a couple more times, some of the things get highlighted that include the red. And then the Prairie shows up and you can see the red. You can see the existing Beltline Road and Cessna Drive, but then also a master plan. One more click, Jill, I think, and a white line will appear that shows a proposed Beltline realignment. And these are the things that are from the airport's own documents, the master plan that was included in their environmental assessment. So that's just a overview. If you aren't familiar with where the plans are, again, it's a phased project. They call for several phases, but again, a clear picture of what each phase entails is not has not been publicly available or even been made available during consultation, as far as we know. So I'm going to turn it over. I'm not sure if Rob or Jillian are going to speak next for sure, but they're just going to give an update on advocacy efforts. And then there is a great video that kind of shows some of that as well. So I'm not sure, Rob or Jillian, who wants to jump up? Jill, you might have to make Rob a co-host so he can speak. I think he's muted. And I don't know if Jillian is, they might not be able to unmute. So neither one of them can speak. Sorry about that, Jill.
Thought I had everybody down as co-hosts, sorry.
No, you're
I already made Jillian a co-host. Okay.
Yeah, take it away, Rob.
So this is Rob and Jillian, and we'll go back to our slideshow here. All right, go ahead, Rob.
Hi, I am happy to be sort of officially joining the team here to try and stop the sadness. And so I'm good. The Friends of Illinois Nature Preserves have brought Jillian and I on to sort of help coagulate all of the many efforts to make sure that we're all doing everything we can and that we can all get caught up as fast as possible. My background is in lots of things. I'm a performance poet, but I've also done conservation work with the Field Museum and environmental education with the Morton Arboretum. And I wrote an op-ed to the Chicago Tribune about Bell Bull early on, just because I thought it was important, and it continues to be. And so, yeah, I'm very excited to be working on this, and I will do everything I can to save it. Jillian, do you want to talk now?
She can't unmute for some reason.
Again.
I can see her.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Jillian. I have also been hired on by Friends of Illinois Nature Preserves to help with the coordinating of this whole thing. I also have a conventional background. I'm actually a plant biologist, but I have organizing experience from when I was in college, mostly surrounding getting police on campus to be unarmed and organizing around police brutality. But obviously, as a plant biologist, I'm super passionate about preserving our plant diversity and wildlife diversity and just ecosystem diversity. And so obviously, I'm from the Rockford area. I grew up in Rockton, and now I'm back from college. And so I'm excited to be taking everything that I've learned from school and putting it towards something that matters a lot. So yeah, I'll pass it back to Rob if you want to talk about the rest of the update.
I'm not sure what else needs to be said here other than we have social media. But also maybe we'll talk about this later, but before the board meeting, the airport board meeting, we're going to have a rally outside of the airport that you're all welcome to attend and yell at and bring signs. And that will be really great. Oh, there's all the links. Look at Illinois Native Plant Society to everyone. There's all of our social meds. It's been a really great way to connect and also really push this message outside of the environmental nature nerd group, which is very important, very powerful, but we're always interested in expanding it beyond us.
Can I jump in here?
Please.
Say something? She put the links in the chat. So the Facebook group is Save Belleville Prairie. And I just checked the numbers. We're about 3,900 followers or members in the Facebook group, which is a tremendous amount of growth over the last few months. And then on Twitter, follow us at Save Belleville Prairie, and Instagram, Save Belleville Prairie, and always, when you can, use hashtag Save Belleville Prairie whenever you're posting something about Belleville Prairie. And then we have the website, savebellevilleprairie.org, for you to go to as well to find out more information and about what's been going on and what you can do, and all kinds of resources there. And welcome, Jillian and Rob. It's great to have you guys on board and helping.
So there's also an advocate that has put together a quick video that has some background information and some of the advocacy. So Jill's going to play that for us.
I'm sorry, Jill, I'm going to stop you for a minute. We can't hear the audio. Can anyone else hear the
Actually,
audio?
There's no audio yet.
Okay.
Now it's
Sorry.
starting.
So just like here at the airport, it's important for both sides of this discussion to work together on a solution. I understand that that has been in the works for a bit now. So I'm pleased about that and believe that there will be a good resolution. Don't you feel like you're back in the 1960s?
All right, thanks, Jill. And we'll talk a little bit more in our breakout rooms at the end about additional ways for advocacy, and hope that we'll get a lot of input and discussion. So just wanted to give a few more updates about where things stand. So a lot seems to be hinging on conversations around the environmental consultation process. So wanted to share an update about what we know as far as where things stand. As of February 16th, so late mid last week, the Rockford Airport had yet to submit the biological assessment to the FAA. And then once the FAA has received that biological assessment, they would review it as appropriate or submit it to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and that would initiate formal consultation. Formal consultation could take up to 135 days, but in a letter from the FAA, they noted to the airport authority that they don't expect it to take that full amount of time. I see that Laura put a question in the chat about who did the biological assessment. It would be the airport's consultants that would do that biological assessment and be sharing it. So one of the things that's also interesting, and this is how we have this information, that on February 8th, there was a letter sent to the FAA from Zach Oakley, the Deputy Director of Operations and Planning. It's not necessarily important that you read that text. It just says basically they are confirming that they will not start construction. They will not resume any construction in the area that that is being consulted about, and they're going to comply with the law, and that's what this letter from Zach Oakley says on February 8th. And then on February 16th, the FAA responded to say that they received the letter that the airport says, Zach Oakley from the airport says that they're going to follow the law. So an interesting exchange between the both of them. Just walking through the process, the environmental consultation process, a very high level overview. They're determining in steps 2 and 3, could the action affect any listed species or critical habitat? We are assuming that they will say yes, and that it will move to step 4, and that they will have to move into formal consultation with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. But as of right now, we don't have any official confirmation that that is going to happen, or that has happened. We know that it hasn't happened yet, or hadn't late last week. And so I think the next step would be for Carrie to talk about the legal update, because they're definitely tied together. So Carrie, if you want to share that with everyone, I think they're eager to hear. Carrie, you're still muted.
Thank you, Jill. So back in October, on October 27th, and I remember that date because it was my birthday, we did file a complaint for an injunctive relief and a motion for a temporary restraining order, which we then withdrew because the airport agreed to stop construction. Then in November, the airport denied our request to kind of flag the boundaries of the Prairie and give us monitoring access. They didn't want us out there. We wanted to make sure that we knew what exactly the boundaries were so that there were no incursions, particularly by other contractors who were out on the site doing other work, and they may not know where the Prairie was. They also denied our request to meet with consultants, even though, as you saw earlier in the film, our governor thought we were moving forward with a consultation with the airport. But they have consistently refused to meet with anyone. So we had to file an intent to sue the federal agencies and give them a 60-day notice. You can go to the next slide. So in December, the airport filed a motion to dismiss, saying that we didn't have standing. We weren't entirely surprised by this. We thought this would be something, it's kind of something that everybody does. They're kind of trying it on because we do have standing. And in January, we responded then, because we had 30 days to respond. We responded to the airport's motion to dismiss. And at the same time, the federal defendants filed a motion to dismiss. So what I want to make clear here is that there's actually 2 different suits going on. There's the suit against the airport. And then there's also the suit against the federal defendants about the B and the environmental assessment and all of that. So these 2 suits are not on the same timeline. So in this February, then, we submitted a list of questions about the construction plans for the airport. We submitted a list of questions to both the federal defendants and to the airport, because we wanted to know if they were going to continue with their March 1st plans to destroy the Prairie, even if consultation had not been completed, because those were kind of the signs that we were getting. Well, we then received a threatening reply from the airport saying that if we filed another temporary restraining order, they would then sue us for a frivolous lawsuit. So it's just a bullying tactic. So NLI then filed our amended complaint. If you remember, we needed 60-day notice to do that. So the amended to file the original complaint, and then we filed an amended complaint, which now includes an IDOT list of defendants, and it also references and note and puts a claim through the Endangered Species Act. So because of all this, the judge wanted to hold a status conference last week, which he held on Thursday morning. It lasted all of 20 minutes. It was basically to tell the judge who was doing what and when. And what came out of that status meeting were two things. One is that the judge said, because we've submitted an amended motion, the defendants, both the federal defendants and the airport, they all need to refile their motions to dismiss based on the amended complaint. So they have to refile. Now, they also had a conversation. Our lawyers brought up that unless we had something in writing about the March 1st deadline, we didn't feel comfortable. Well, the judge said he did not have time to do a TRO, and he did not want to do that. So he asked the lawyers airport to really state his intention. And he said there that the airport would not resume construction on March 1st. However, subsequent to that, we've heard Mike Dunn saying that he still plans to go out there March 1st. And so the other thing is Mike Dunn said, the FAA wants us to do this, that, and the other, but we don't always do what the FAA says. So I felt really shaky about this. And I talked to the lawyers and I said, maybe their lawyer has the confidence of the judge, but Mike Dunn may not always follow his lawyer's suggestions. So what we did, we sent in a stipulating motion today. Today, we sent in a letter to the lawyers asking them not to file, asking them to sign this document, this stipulated motion, to say that they would halt construction until July or 3 weeks after the consultation ends. Because if the consultation ends at 3:00 on a Wednesday afternoon and we don't hear about it, they could be out with their bulldozers the next morning. So we want to either have some notice of the consultation or we want to be able to review the consultation. So that's what we've sent out and saying, if you don't agree to this, airport authority, to this stipulated motion, then we are going to file a TRO and the judge won't be too happy with you for not agreeing to this stipulation. So that's where we are today. Is there another slide or is that it? I can't remember. Yep. Okay. So that's it. Craig is asking, what is the GRAA board and their relationship with the amended motion? The board is basically not the legal entity that we're suing at the moment. And the board appears to have no deciding factors in all of this. We've spoken with board members. They said they've not even made decisions or reviewed plans, that this is all operations. And the board seems to be very impotent. Many of them, or most of them, had not even seen their bylaws. Yes, they do, but they have to have cause to fire Mike Dunn. And then a lot of the airport board members, of course, are appointed by our local mayors. So we've been talking about doing a campaign towards the local mayors around the commissioners. So Leslie is asking, whoops, I lost that one. Let me see if I can find that one. Can Pritzker, Durbin, and Duckworth put pressure on the airport? Well, they can, but they have been. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We're going to talk about celebrating some wins and the power of the people. So I'll let that question go later. How responsible to taxpayers is the GRAA? Well, it appears they're not particularly responsible to taxpayers. And they get their tax money for, I can't remember, I think it's around $3.5 million a year from the local taxpayers, just for the regular running of the airport. Yes, they are a taxing body. And Judy asks, have we tried to get to Jeff Bezos? We have tried that in multiple different ways. Some of these questions can be answered if you go to the SaveBellevillePrairie.org, because it talks about all the things that we've been doing for many, many months. So I think doing a little research there to kind of see what's actually been done. What would happen to Mike Dunn if he plows under the prairie on March 1st? Well, there'd be huge fines. The FAA, I mean, he probably, I don't know, but he probably would get fired. I encourage everybody to go to the SaveBellevillePrairie.org. Somebody's put up a link there with the timeline. So I encourage you to really take a look at everything that we've been doing. But now tonight, we're going to be talking about the next action steps and talking in the break rooms. So that's all for me.
Thanks,
Thank
Carrie.
you.
So just a quick update about fundraising, and then we want to get to some of the action items and things that that we hope that people will join in on, and some breakout rooms where we can answer some of these questions and brainstorm a little bit about next steps for action items. But we are, Carrie just provided a lot of background on the things that are happening on the legal front, but those things cost money, and there are legal fees associated with that. So there is a fundraising drive going on through the month of February. Generous donors have created a matching pool of $14,500 that will match donations up to that through the end of this month. And so there's also been some donor gifts. The first 60 donors are going to receive, that give at least $100, will receive an illustrated nature journal page from Domenico. And the first 20 donors giving gifts of $250 or more will receive Confluence, a book of poems and photographs from Domenico. It's a collection that spans from 1970 to 2020. And then the first 10 donors giving gifts of $500 or more will receive Thought Patterns by Domenico. And this is a collector's edition also signed by the author. And all donors of $25 or more between February 8th and March 1st are going to be entered into a raffle to win a print of a Northern Harrier. So you can donate at GoFundMe, and the link is there. The link is on the Save Belleville Prairie website. And donations up to $14,500 will be matched through the end of the month. And since we announced this this fund drive, we've received $5,515 in donations. So we still have just under $9,000 to go to achieve that full match. So I hope that people will join in there. And again, that link to donate is on the website. So I think Jillian is going to talk next about some of the advocacy work that we want to celebrate. So Jillian, why don't you take over here a little bit?
Thank you. Okay, hello everyone, I'm back. We thought, since we know this has been a really long and arduous process, and we still have a long way to go for sure, but we thought it would be nice to take a moment to celebrate the wins that we've already had, because it can definitely start weighing on you when you start thinking about everything we have to go up against, but it's good to know that we are making steps in the right direction, and that's because of all of our hard work. So since we've started organizing around Belleville Prairie, we've had over 90 stories published in the media, and that's not just in the Rockford area or in Northern Illinois, it's statewide and national. So we're really doing a great job of getting the word out and getting people from all over the world interested, and yeah, letting them know that this is something that everyone should be caring about. We've also had some great successes with lobbying to elected officials. Tammy Duckworth's office met with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services last week because of all of the phone calls and emails that her office has been getting from Belleville Prairie advocates. As we mentioned before, Zach Oakley wrote a letter to the Aviation Authority saying that they would follow the law regarding consultation, which, when you think about it, is a really weird thing to do if you were planning on following the law to begin with. I know I've personally never reached out to a regulatory authority and said, by the way, I'm planning on following all your rules. So yeah, that's nice to know that he's got it in writing that they're planning on following the laws here, which is great. And then Pritzker's office has been really hard to get a hold of, but we're still keeping pressure on him. And we have heard from some people in his office that he's planning on calling the airport to basically get a check-in on the status of what's going on. We're hoping that he asks about how those negotiations are going, since there have been none because the airport refuses to talk to anybody. And all of this would definitely not have happened if people weren't being so outspoken and contacting their representatives and sharing things on social media and reaching out to other media outlets and things like that. So thank you all for all of the work that you've put in so far. And I hope we can all maintain this energy, because we've definitely still got a long fight ahead of us.
Hi, this is Jennifer Kuroda, and I'm with Mississippi Audubon, and I'm here to talk about our action items, or how you can take action. The next airport board meeting is February 24th at 5 p.m. That's located at 60 Airports Drive. Prior to that start of the meeting, there will be a rally at 4 p.m. outside. I will be there with these Take the Challenge, these little Say Belleville Prairie wooden coins. At the meeting last Wednesday, the Chamber of Commerce meeting, Mike Dunn was handing these out. So I have 160 of these. There's 160 attendees that went to that meeting. I'm going to challenge 160 people to take this challenge. If we need more coins, I'd be happy to have more made. But when you receive the coin, we're going to ask that you complete 3 to 5 actions, and that can be mailing a postcard. In that second picture, there's a copy of the postcard, and all you have to do is fill it out and send it to someone. Contact Pritzker's office. Even if you've already done this, and even if you've already done this 3 times, 4 times, 5 times already, it's important to keep the pressure on him. So do that. Once you've completed your 3 to 5 actions, and it can be other things too, reach out to 5 people and share this information and get them to take action as well. Post a photo of you and your coin on social media once you've done that challenge and you completed it, and list what you've done. Tag your post, use hashtags too, and just get the information out there that, can you go back one more slide? Sorry, get the information out there that you've done this. I also have a limited supply of pins. Those are in the photos down there. I had made those for the chamber event. That second photo has what they look like. If anyone would like a pin, it's first come, first serve. I think I probably have about 10 left if anybody would like to wear one of those to the airport board meeting. Next slide. Again, take action, write letters, send postcards. I just went to the Office Depot and bought 3 packs of the postcards that you can run through your printer, and I made them via Avery template. So I was able to make 300 postcards for $60. Super easy to do that. You can host a letter writing event with your friends and family, or you can do postcards, make phone calls, visit the bellevilleprairie.org website for additional actions, scripts, and ideas and talking points. Next slide. I think the next slide is a call for artists. If you're an artist, oh, there we go. If you're an artist, a writer, social media content creators, event organizers, protesters, demonstrators, any of those things, we need your help. So come out and support us at the rally, or contact us on how you can get involved. Just email Amy at friendsofillinois.nature.org. If you have any contacts with local, state, or federal politicians, now is the time to ask them to do something. It doesn't hurt still to contact your local legislators and let them know, especially in the Rockford area. I continue to reach out to ours. Tell people every day. Like I said, tell 5 people why the prairie is important. Share with your colleagues at work. Share with your friends and family. I think is there one more slide on there to take action? I can't remember.
Nope.
Oh, no, that was all.
All right, now we're going to break up into 5 breakout groups. We want ideas from you to how we can keep this fight up to save this prairie. So the first 2 groups, labeled number 1, that's going to be Jennifer Kuroda, the woman who just spoke. And then the second group is Jillian Neese. And we're asking if you live, I put down on the breakout room, Winnebago County. If you are local, live close to this area, please choose one of those groups to go to. And then everybody else, you are asked to choose a breakout room that is hosted by Amy Dahl, Robbie, that we spoke earlier, or Samantha Chavez. And so those, in each of those groups, people are going to take notes. You don't have to talk in the breakout room, but if you would like to, or if you have ideas, we are definitely hoping that you will share them tonight. So we'll open the breakout rooms, and please choose your breakout room. And if you don't have the latest version of Zoom, so you can't choose for yourself, put in chat which room you would like to go to, and I will put you in that room. So please make your choice, and we'll break out. Amy, 10 minutes, is that a good amount of time?
10 minutes is probably good.
I'll set my alarm for 10 minutes, and then we'll gather back together just for a few more minutes to gather up some ideas. So thanks, everybody. Please choose a room now. Cassie, can you help put people in rooms too? Are you able to do that? So Jess, any of the rooms 3, 4, 5, those are, all of those are, could be Chicago or just a little bit farther away than just the local people.
Jill, are you talking to us? Because you're muted.
Okay, thanks everybody for joining us back together. We're going to just hear maybe the top 3 things from each group, and then the work group will sift through all of your ideas on Wednesday of this week when we get together. So Jennifer, can you just share your top 3 ideas?
Sure. I'm not sure we had 3 total, but I will share them. We did have a high school student from Auburn on with us, and I know that she's going to be sharing information at her school, which is wonderful. I've been asking my daughter to do the same at her school, and she goes to Guilford. I did encourage everyone who is in Winnebago County to please try to attend the next airport board meeting this Thursday, and if possible, attend the rally beforehand too. And then we also had somebody who was in our group that can take a look at the impact of like the wetlands area that could be potentially part of the expansion in the future. But yeah, and I think there was a couple things that we're interested in learning more about that someone had brought up about potentially Domenico having a presentation about his alternative plan somewhere. And so we're looking forward to hearing what his group had and if he will be doing that.
Great. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Jillian, can you report on your group?
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, my group, we talked a lot about ways to help more people find out about this. So one member of our group has ties to Northern Illinois University, and he said that he can help spread the word on campus to local like youth and ecology groups to try and get some more students involved. We also had some ideas about maybe setting up booths at local events to do kind of like some flyering or tabling with some information about Belleville Prairie, and had an idea about maybe having like a window art competition for downtown Rockford or Belvedere businesses to depict Belleville Prairie and try and help more people come to terms with that as well.
Great, thank you very much. Samantha Chavez was not able to be with us tonight, so thank you to Jerry Paulson for jumping in. So Jerry, can you tell us just a couple ideas from your group, please?
Well, actually, we ended up with pretty much just one idea, and this was a downstate group, and Domenico had talked about how the overall master plan was just expansion was just going to devastate the ecology of the Kishwaukee River and the floodplain there and lots of other things, that we think it's time to start a separate campaign focusing on the FAA and the overall master plan and how inappropriate it is for that site. And that is a more long-term campaign, but it's probably a good thing to, counteract, use that to to respond to Mike Dunn's boasting about how wonderful all the new airplanes are that are landing there at the airport.
Great,
so that would
thank you,
take
Jerry.
a separate little task force, I think.
Okay. And then Amy, can you give a report in your group, please?
Yeah, we talked about how do we reach other groups, and we talked about gardening clubs and birding clubs and people that are already interested in and aware of outdoors and nature, but maybe not in biodiversity conservation, but bringing them up to speed. And so we brainstormed a little bit about how to connect with those and possibly making sure that they knew that while there's not an official speakers bureau necessarily, there are plenty of people who could speak to them, especially in this age of Zoom meetings. And then we also talked about a weekend rally and whether or not there should be one or would be one coming up soon. So we can talk about what that could look like. And then because our group was full of people who are not from Winnebago County, the question just came up, and especially in listening to what the local groups are coming up with, is how do people outside of the Rockford area best support the effort and the movement, and wanting to be aware of that and to be listening to what that looks like. So
Great, thank you very much. And then Rob, the last group.
The best group. Yeah, we talked about what folks could do outside of Winnebago County who aren't there. One of the things is find any tenuous connection you have to Winnebago County and talk to them about this. Say, like, you know, you have this ecological heritage that's being destroyed, and perhaps you don't even know that it's there. Another thing that came up is helping educate everyone outside of our circles why this particular prairie is more important than, say, a field of corn, which I think for most of Illinoisans, that's what they also think that is a prairie. And so we have that kind of education to do. Also, helping push the narrative that Mike Dunn and the airport are unnecessarily dividing the community and wasting all of our time and wasting a lot of money about something that they're hiring lawyers that they don't need to hire, that it's just it's making a conflict out of something that didn't have to be a conflict, and it's hurting people on all sides. And then the other thing is showing up to things, direct action, like going to places. The folks who have interrupted Durbin, who have interrupted Mike Dunn, have done a lot of good work in calling attention to this to those folks, so that they have to hear us. So that is a thing that we can continue to do. And also bring in the kids. Let's find all the kids, and not just because I believe the children are our future, but also because their parents are voters and they are community members, and often the concerns of a child are what bring the concerns of the parent as well. So that's what we talked about.
Great, thanks very much, everybody. If the room hosts, if you could send your comments to Amy, we'll compile those and talk about them on Wednesday. Jennifer says you can purchase 100 Avery postcards and print them. Very good.
all right, so we've had a lot of good conversation, a lot of good brainstorming. If you haven't put your name and email address in the chat at any other meeting before, then you should do that to make sure that you are on the email list, so that we can keep you updated and stay engaged. We'll continue to keep things updated on the Facebook page and the website. And there is a working group meeting, working group that meets every Wednesday and talks about these things. I think Jillian and Rob also probably are walking away with lots of projects and things to do. So we will keep you all up to speed. But the next public meeting will be March 8th. But hopefully we will see lots of you at the airport this week on Thursday for the rally at 4, and then to come to the board meeting at 5 p.m. And if you can't be there at 4, you can still come late or come at 5 to the airport board meeting. So again, the next meeting will be on March 8th, and we will we'll stay in touch.
Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you all.